Amazon now has over 1 million robots working in its warehouses. They're getting real close to having more machines than people on the floor. And let me guess, you're probably thinking the same thing I am, are the robots coming for our jobs? And more importantly, how do we make money from it? Well, let's talk about the company that's actually building those robots for Amazon. It's one we used to hold in our portfolio. It's called Teradyne, ticker symbol TER. We first came across Teradyne back in 2017, while we were researching a company called Universal Robots. Turns out, Teradyne had already acquired them. Universal Robots was known as a global leader in Cobots, collaborative robots designed to work alongside people. At the time, they had shipped over 4,000 units. So in 2018, we bought into Teradyne. Why? Because they weren't just resting on one acquisition. They'd also bought TER, which made mobile robots in Denmark, and Energrid, a software company. Plus, they were sitting on $1.5 billion in cash to keep growing. Back then, industrial automation made up just 10% of their total sales. But the idea was, if robotics kept growing, so would Teradyne's revenue, and fast. We thought we were getting in early. Kind of like when we spotted Nvidia early. Well, it didn't go the same way. In 2020, after a strong run, we decided to trim our position. Not because we didn't believe in robotics, but because we were up about 260%. We sold enough to cover our original investment. But here's the truth, most of that gain didn't come from robotics. It came from Teradyne's other divisions, which were growing faster. We had to ask ourselves, were our gains from smart investing, or just being in the right place at the right time? By 2022, we revisited the stock again. The company had said robotics would grow to 18% of total sales by 2024. At the time, the CEO even highlighted warehouse automation as a key growth driver. One analyst asked, why not grow robotics 60 to 70% a year? The CEO answered, saying that installing Cobots still requires skilled technicians, and there just aren't enough of them. Fair enough. They also mentioned a partner called Nimble Robotics, which was using Teradyne's Cobots with AI and advanced software to power high-volume warehouses for big-name retailers. One of those retailers? Amazon. Amazon recently showed off its new robot called Vulcan. It's their first robot that can actually sense touch. And if you look closely at Vulcan, you'll notice something, that little UR logo on the arm. Yep, that's Universal Robots, a Teradyne brand. Someone even zoomed in and confirmed it, Vulcan uses Teradyne hardware. Now, let's get back to that 18% robotics target Teradyne had for 2024. They didn't hit it. Instead, robotics only made up about 13% of their total revenue last year. And now, they've lowered their new goal. They're aiming for 16% by 2028. So not only did they miss the original mark, they pushed it back and lowered the bar. Also, Amazon, despite using their tech, is not even listed as one of Teradyne's top 20 customers. Could that change in the future? Maybe. But right now, it tells us that Amazon's orders alone aren't moving the needle. Teradyne said they earned $11 million last year from AI-powered robotics. They're hoping that number grows to $150 million by 2028. Again, that sounds good, but let's be real. Unless something shifts, these are just projections. And the reality is, they've had years to turn robotics into a real growth driver. And it hasn't happened. Here's the real question, why wouldn't Amazon just build their own robots? They could use Teradyne's Cobots for now, learn from them, and eventually develop their own system in-house. They already have the money, the talent, and the infrastructure to do it. Sure, Teradyne is working with other companies besides Amazon. But if Amazon goes solo, it could limit future upside. We've tracked Teradyne's robotics revenue since 2018. It went from 10% to 13% over several years. That's not exactly explosive growth. The stock itself is down about 40% over the past year. And even though its valuation is a bit lower than the average for tech stocks, we don't see enough momentum here to get excited. If a real breakout in robotics is coming, it'll show up in one place, that robotics revenue number. And so far, it's been stuck in neutral. We're not saying Teradyne is a bad company. We're saying they've been talking about a robotics boom for years, and it still hasn't come. So, ask yourself, are you willing to bet on Teradyne finally turning things around? Or would you rather focus on companies where the growth is already happening? Robotics is a promising industry, no doubt. But when it comes to Teradyne, the numbers just haven't backed up the hype. So we'll keep an eye on that robotics segment, because if things finally take off, we'll know exactly where to look. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure you subscribe.